Next is, see, you have skill. There are chances that you have abundance of skill that is needed for the exact job role. But what if you cannot communicate that properly to them? Right? You have skill, you have all the idea about the job that has to be done in that particular job role, everything you know, but you don't know how to convince them that you are able to do so. What are you going to do? What will you do if you cannot convince them that you are good at something? Then your skill is a waste of your efforts, right? Then the efforts that you've put into learning that skill is going to be waste. So how are you going to deal with that? We are going to deal with that with better communication. Okay, if you cannot convince them, it is of no use, and thus we are going to use better communication to convince them that you are the perfect candidate for their job role. So let me introduce you the 7 C's of communication. Okay, communication itself starts with C, and we have 7 things that comes under communication that is very much important for effectively communicating. Okay, so first thing will be completeness. What you have to do is you will have to provide all necessary information for clear understanding and informed decisions. That is, if you want them to take a very clear decision about your job, if you want them to think that you are very clear in your job role, very efficient in your technical skills, you have to provide all necessary information to them. If you are giving only half of the information, it is not going to work. Next is clearness. Clearness is that you ensure that the message is easily understood without ambiguity or confusion. See, what happens is we try to say something but it becomes something else. You are trying to prove that you are very good at this particular skill, but it becomes altogether something else. Is that going to help you? No, right? It will not help you. So you have to make sure that your message is easily understood without any confusion or any ambiguity. Okay. Next is courtesy. That is showing respect, politeness, and professionalism in interaction with others. You are not going to talk to to the very basic sit in front of the interviewer as you sit in your home. You can sit in your home like this, hands on your chin, hands on your head, hands going here and there, legs up on the table, all these things. But of course, you are not going to sit like that, right? So you are going to show courtesy, not just in the way you talk but also the way you sit, also you look, the way you look at them. Eye contact is very important, as I said. Yeah, all these things are very important, and you're going to show courtesy to them, which is the third C of communication. And fourth would be correctness. What is correctness? It is moreover same to clearness, but you have to make sure that it is not only the message that is understood properly, you are using the correct and accurate grammar, spelling, punctuation, and factual information presented. You are not to bluff about the skills that you have. You should not be telling lies that I have the skill, and finally when they want you to prove that skill, you cannot do that, right? So whatever is on the resume, you have to make sure that it is factual, it is facts, not bluff, not something that is a lie. If you have a skill, put that in the resume. But if you don't know, please do not put. But if you have very basic knowledge of so, mention that. For example, if you have very basic knowledge of Python, mention Python in hyphen and basic level. So make sure that you communicate with correctness. Okay. Next is concreteness. Concreteness means you have to use specific facts and evidence for credibility and believability. So let me tell you how it is done. When the interviewer asks whether you know you know something about whether you know something about MongoDB or React, Node.js, all these things, how are you going to make them believe that you know that? You simply saying that, oh, yes, I know, that is an answer, but that is not the answer that will get you the job. Okay, that is an answer. Yes, I know is an answer, but it will not get you the job. For you to get the job, you have to answer with concreteness, giving examples as to how well you know that, how you learned that, all these things. Okay, for example, if you have React as your syllabus in college, you can say, yes, while I was doing my undergraduate program, I had this in my syllabus and thus I've studied this. And thus I am very proficient in so. That is how you answer. You're not going to answer in one word. You're going to give them reason to believe that you know that. Okay? For example, if they ask whether you know SQL, you're going to tell them that yes, I've used, yeah, yes, I know SQL and I have even used SQL in my project in the final year. See, isn't that more convincing that yes, I know SQL? If I say yes, yes, I know SQL, and if another person say yes, I know SQL and I have also used it in my project, which one will you believe more? The second one, of course, right? So make sure that your answers or your communication is concrete. Okay, it has believability and credibility. Next is consciences. Consciences means conveying message with brevity without unnecessary details or information. See, if I give too much of information, if they ask whether I know, for example, if they ask whether I know Python and I tell them that yes, I know Python and I have also used it in my project, that is answer with brevity. But if I go on explaining about the project, then another project, and unwanted details if I'm giving, that is not encouraged. If you want to give them the details of your project, wait for them to ask for the details of their project. Because this question, if you answer that you have used in the project, it will directly lead to tell me about your project. It is normal that it will be led to tell me about your project. But you have to make sure that you you have to make sure that you do not give unnecessary information in the beginning itself. Let them ask if you want to give the details. Okay, do not go overdo the answer. Do not go give a lot of information that they forget what is the primary point. Okay, next is consideration. See, the interviewer is there to ask and get knowledge about our technical skills, our capabilities in their work environment, not your personal things. So for example, when you are talking about yourself, if the interviewer asks, tell me about yourself, how are you going to answer that? You're not going to answer them like, you're not going to give your family history, what your parents names are, whether you have siblings, what their names are, what they're doing. No, that is not needed. Not even where you are from is not needed. Which is only needed is your education and basic things that is useful for them, right? See, and imagine that when you are talking to your friend whom you have not seen in so long, you are not going to talk about your education, your job skills, technical skills. I have these soft skill. I have these. That's not what you talk to your friend. At the same time, that is what you talk to your employer. So this is the difference. You have to consider what the audience are expected to get and speak accordingly. When it comes to questions also, what they are expecting, you have to give. Then only you will be selected.